Hi, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. The show was originally started with interviews that we had from people who are now stars on the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? And for those of you who are interested in this movie that has to do with quantum mechanics and how we create our reality, you're very aware that there's now a sequel called Down the Rabbit Hole. However, Farther Down the Rabbit Hole here at MNN came first. I call them ancient interviews because the interviews were done before the movie What the Bleep was even contemplated. And the show developed. We did interviews, and then we did these old interviews, the ancient interviews, that went into the topics very deeply. And then we took calls from you, the viewer. And these calls from you, the viewer, allowed us to go even deeper into the topics. And so now we come to the last show of the live call-in. We've done this for 3 seasons, and it's a bittersweet moment because I have many fond memories of all my callers, both the ones that took the concepts to really exalted levels, and those that were just sort of being a little bit rascally and having a good time with the whole idea of calling up and being, as one of them said, offensive. This is something I wanted to go into straight away. I didn't explain very clearly that I said it wasn't about being offensive. It was about learning how to make a connection. And something that these callers allowed me to do by going more deeply into my feelings and listening to the calls many, many times was that the responsibility that I felt to my guests. And so when I went very deeply into my guests' responses, I don't think they were offended either, but I will say that probably fear was involved because it's a little scary to put yourself out there, to be enthusiastic about wanting to share something and then feel that what you're wanting to share was misunderstood. But I am so enthused to know wherever the misunderstanding lies that I'll go to any lengths to discover what the misunderstanding is all about. And so I've always kept the airwaves open. I've never wanted to do screening. Webster Tarpley in his radio show said that you have to have 5-minute delays, and that way you can get rid of the offensive callers. But again, it's not about offensive. And finally, I want to be able to state my position very clearly regarding my guests. It can be a little scary, and it can be even very scary when you feel that you're not really understood properly. And I think in this day and age, when we have a media, and the media is not really expressing what the masses are feeling, the masses get scared. And my feeling is through nonviolent communication, by being able to express this feeling of fear, those that have the power and can make decisions to alleviate this fear might be inspired to do that once they really understand that fear is there and it's not about judgment and blame. Now, again, I wanted to say that when I bring guests on this show, if I'm not making connections that are succinct and understandable, then I feel I have a debt to them and an obligation to clear that up. And so, although I may not have been as fearful when the calls came in, I definitely felt a big concern to my guests that I brought them up to the chopping block that they may not have bargained for. I'm very aware that there is a sort of a metaphorical chopping block here, but I feel that when times are very intense, those are also the times of the greatest promise to understand the greatest possibilities. And again, I was down at St. George's Church the other day, and I picked up another book called Not Every Spirit, and it's a Dogmatics of Christian Disbelief. It's a really fascinating account, and whenever I pick up scholarly books, I always flip over to the resurrection. And the resurrection is something I feel, if it's understood very well, not just mindlessly worshipped, it has the potential to bring together our very, very divided world, where Jews aren't understanding Christians, aren't understanding Hindus, aren't understanding Muslims, and as a result of this misunderstanding, we're very, very easily manipulated and misled. So I just want to start this last live call-in show with a few thoughts of how deep this topic is. The resurrected life in the spirit is not affirmed as a disembodied life. In this respect, the incarnation is not abrogated by the resurrection. It is only, as we have noted, in light of the resurrection that the gospel speaks of Jesus' presence, birth, and death, actually pre-existence, birth and death. Despite the variety of ways in which the different writers of the New Testament portray the risen Christ, there is a primacy of witness to the resurrection. Thus Paul, whose testimony contains no nativity accounts, writes to the Corinthians, "If Christ has not been raised, then our proclamation has been in vain, and your faith has been in vain." Corinthians 15:14. What is confessed is that in the person of Jesus Christ, all that opposes creation is defeated, including the final enemy of death itself. The humiliated servant is in reality the exalted Lord. The one who has been delivered over into the hands of sinners is now revealed in faith as the one who holds all sinners in his hands. The writer of 1 Peter speaks of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who has gone into heaven and is at the right hand of God with angels, authorities, and powers made subject to him. What I want to say is they're saying that when Christ said that he descended into hell in order to pull off the resurrection, it meant that he was humiliated. I feel differently. I feel that if we look at the Shroud of Turin, you can see a cloth that has blood on it indicating the suffering. But this phenomenon of the image that the scientists cannot account for how it's created bespeaks of a process where even the materiality of the bones in the body can be resurrected. And again, in Greek, anastasios means like stasis, homeostasis, balance, means to go beyond the stasis, to go beyond the death. And I'm very pleased that last week I had the Greek Orthodox priest come to my house after we had a little ceremony of blessing for Tata, my new incarnation here, which will be a morning edition at 7:30 every day. It won't be live. We won't be able to have call-ins, and it's only a half an hour. But I'm very enthusiastic about this because it seems as though the show has evolved to spirituality and politics. So I want to say again, in regards to the resurrection, I do believe I'm strong on two things. One is understanding in a very wise way what the resurrection is, and also I hold strongly on to 9/11 truth. And the resurrection, I think, can be to Christianity what Webster Tarpley says. My hop is to the 9/11 truth movement. And the importance of the 9/11 truth movement is that impeachment is in order, not as something that has to do with judgment or blame, but simply saying that misprision of treason has happened. The present tenant in the White House, hasn't really upheld the Constitution. And now it's time just to step back and, relax a little, take a break, because obviously this office was a little too much. This is something that I want a lot more dialogue on. I won't be able to have it in a live way, but I am hoping that as I learn more about blogging, that we can make this kind of connection through the internet, so then I can pre-record the answers and then present them to you. But nonviolent communication is all about making connections, being aware of our feelings, our needs, being able to make our requests, and as a result of being able to make the requests, because we're in touch with what we want, we can expect that others will be able to hear our needs better and meet them. The requests can be answered. So those are the two things I'm strong on, the resurrection and 9/11 truth. That's why I say spirituality and politics. And finally, this may not be for this upcoming season or this morning edition, but I do want to say that mantra and yantra creates Tantra. So again, as regards to the lively call-ins that oftentimes would end with sexual innuendos, the West usually understands Tantra as something to do with sex, that religion in the West has sort of thrown out sex, and as a result, people sort of stampede to those places where they feel that they will be okay about this expression in their life. There's a lot more to Tantra than that. Tantra is a process. And on my morning edition that will start next week, I'm going to be having a special one for the solstice. And it will be the sun rising. I went down to the East River, took a picture of the sunrise, a video of it, and I say some mantras, some sun mantras. And for those of you who are sensitive, I would highly encourage you, if you can't get up at 7:30 in the morning, then to pre-record that show. Pay attention to the mantras, and keep in mind that yantra has to do with a shape, you know, like a cross, or what we call the Star of David in the West. It's called the Sri Yantra in India and the East. The swastika is a very revered yantra in the East. Tibetans use it, also Native American Indians use this yantra. A yantra by masters who I've studied with are said to be 1,000 times more powerful than mantras. And with mantras and yantras and the science behind them, we can create extraordinary new realities. So again, stand by for more information and email me, and we can stay connected. So what I want to do is go on to just to have closure to when I had the rabbi, who I had not met before, and my African American esoteric astrologist. I want you to hear again the nature of this call-in, and tune in to, this is not a fence on her face. And I want to say, you can see how savvy she is. She picks up on what's going on a lot quicker than I do, and a lot quicker than the rabbi does. And then we'll talk a little bit more about it later. Oh, let's see if we have a call. Hello, caller, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Any
How
comments?
are you?
How are you?
You know, Time magazine last year had a whole article that said gay teens, generally, homosexuality isn't a big thing.
Okay, can we deal with that later? Thanks for calling. Okay, I have another caller. Hello, caller, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Ma'am, we've spoken before, but today...
Oh, I remember you very well, and I'm glad that you're calling
Good.
back.
Your comments today have really gotten me dizzy. And with all due respect, how dare you call for President Bush's impeachment based on what? Do you understand the reality that the Arabs are no good? NG, flat, finish, finito.
Okay.
The only thing that they know is death. Have you ever been to Israel? Have you ever
Yes,
lived
I have,
among
sir.
them?
I have been to Israel. I've been to Tel Aviv. I've enjoyed the museums, the culture. I used to live on the island of Cyprus for 4 years. Remember in a previous call I told you I was
Absolutely.
building an eco-village?
But I want to come back to these Muslims. I don't want to get off base here.
Oh, sir, can you email me?
Yes.
I want to stay in touch with you, and all your comments I want to have for the morning edition pre-recorded. Promise me you'll email me?
Ma'am, is there a way I can give you my number off the air where we can talk?
Okay, call me after we go off the air, okay?
Okay,
but take this email down, okay? rabbitholecentral@earthlink.net.
Okay, honey, just one last thing. The rabbi that you speak of, what is his or her name?
Rabbi Bobroff.
Oh, is that a woman?
No, a man. I'm going to roll him in right now, okay?
Okay,
and
thank
pay
you.
careful attention to his expression and also to Jennifer's.
Okay, thank you, sweetie.
Okay, great. And email me and call me after, because I want to work a lot more with you on this topic of impeachment, okay?
Okay, thank you, sweetie.
Okay, bye. Okay, I must go on or I won't be able to cover all the materials. So here we are with Jennifer.
We have a couple of calls.
We do have calls. Okay,
1600
let's take some
Pennsylvania.
calls now. Yeah, no. Do we have any calls?
Hi. Hello?
Hello?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, just well. And you?
Very good. My father happens to be Jewish and my mother is African American.
Oh, wonderful. You're the perfect caller.
Well, that's why I decided to call in.
Great.
And I do appreciate today's topic and all. And my mom has had some conflicts because I want to be raised Catholic, because I want to adapt my future wife's religion. She's African American, my father is Jewish, and I'm taking another route. and I figured I'd
Now watch Geneva's expression here. She's really hip to what's going on.
figure this thing out.
What's Geneva? This sounds like you're down your alley. This.
Well, you know, I just think
How
that
long-
I think that people take religion a little bit too
Well,
seriously.
hello, miss. Hold on, let me put my mom on, okay?
Okay.
Mom, can you take the phone and speak about this? I'd really appreciate it. Hold on.
Thank you.
Oh, we didn't know Mom was in the house.
Let's let Mom speak.
Express a problem.
Hello?
Hello.
Who's this?
Hi.
Hello?
Geneva, you take this.
Yes.
Let's do tight on Geneva here.
Are you all being for real? I mean, what is it? I'm not clear.
What's the problem?
I'm a black kind of ill guy look like you.
Well, this is a negative call. They just
It's a negative call. A hoax. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we are back again.
It's deep.
And I want to say that what Geneva was saying, what she told me later on when we were at home, she said, you've got to stop having these calls. And she felt the negativity, and I could go on even a little bit more on that. But what was really touching was when we sat in my bedroom later on, because she came up from DC for a few days, and I always insist at the end of every show, I watch my shows. And if I have guests that I can possibly convince to watch with me, I sit there and watch, and I said, what do you think they meant here? What do you think they meant here, like this and that? And later on, it was clearly a black caller, and she said things even harsher. And what Geneva said, at first she didn't want to watch the show. She said, Paula, you've got to change things. You can't bring this negativity into what you're trying to do. And I watched it still, and then she crept over and sat on my bed, and together we're watching. And she made this expression about, she said it's deep, and it had to do with self-hatred. And the excitement that I have that we can, through the medium of television, go to extraordinarily deep levels if we start having the trust in each other that we can share. Like the caller before, he doesn't like my position about the impeachment, and but you know, that doesn't matter. The important thing is that he made the call. And what I'm hoping is through the blog, through the video blogging or whatever it's called, because I don't have those skills yet, that even though I won't be able to have a live show, the fact that I'll have a daily show coming on at 7:30 in the morning, there'll be some way through the internet I can gather these responses, and maybe we can even have call-ins to a studio in another place, so I can pre-record the answer and still have this transparency that I'm always looking for, but then move over into going into deeper levels. So that's why I want to stay connected to you. So now I am going to change to one of my very favorite shows. It's a classic. Oops, let me turn around. I'm getting twisted up in wires here. And this show was one of my first done in 1999 when I first experimented with live call-ins. I did it with Frank Craven, and the topic was something extraordinarily provocative to me at that time. It's about sex slavery in the White House. So let's let this roll and see what you think. Is one part is related to all parts. So through my interest in teeth, I got interested in the health of all the body. Through interest in health of all of, let me just pause here and say that where I want to take this show on the morning edition is I want to go more back into a big love of mine, which is holistic health. And obviously Jesus didn't resurrect, because of drinking wheatgrass juice, but there's a lot we can learn about diet and lifestyle, the Alexander technique, and so on. So this show was done when I had a tooth show. It was called The Whole Tooth, where I went into holistic dentistry. And so my fascination with this topic of mind control, it got me to do this that you're looking at right now. All the body, I got interested in the mind. I've been very interested in pursuing higher states of consciousness and knowledge about higher states of consciousness for 20 years. Now, in the same way that teeth are holistic, or any part of the body can be like a hologram for all parts of the body, there's a phenomenon going on in the world that all people, good, moral, non-criminal people, should be aware of, and that's mind control, or the ability to influence another individual's free will. people who are more of a tyrannical nature, tyrants, can impose their will on others who are victims. Ultimately, I feel whether you're a victim or a perpetrator of victimization, a tyrant, society is on the brink of lifting above all of this so that we can love and share our humanity, what it is to be human, which is ultimately to know our divinity. So in this show tonight, we're going to be talking about sex slavery in the White House, which is the most full-blown expression of mind control, and how some individuals have had their free will taken by other individuals, and these other individuals are powerful people and they're well-known people. I have with me tonight Frank Craven, who is more knowledgeable on this topic. My introduction to the topic was through Kathy O'Brien. So I'll, as the show goes on, I'll tell you a little bit more about my interests. So thank you for joining us, Frank.
My pleasure, Paula. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I mean, it's an outrageous topic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very shocking and scary. I confess about 3 years ago, I was invited to a Bill of Rights rally in Washington, D.C. to speak because I'm a poet and a fellow producer here at MNN. I put on What's Ailing America, Fridays at 3:30 to 4, Channel 57.
What's ailing?